Fantasy Football Junkies. You are tuned in to the #1 source for fantasy prognostication. It's Testosterone Fantasy Sports with your hosts, Jeff and Jesse. So listen up. Here's your chance to gain the edge over the competition and dominate your fantasy football league. Every week we break down all of the matchups and tell you who to play as well as who should ride the pine. This is the joint that every fantasy junkie needs, so check it out!
Oh, yeah, it's about that time again. Jeff and Jesse in the house doing
Hallelujah.
Testosterone Fantasy Sports. Week number 4. Jeff, what a fantastic ride it's been, and our team got a win in the right column this week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
It was a return of the purple in the Dome against the Carolina Panthers, and I'll tell you, we've done fairly well against them in recent years. Aside from the one big game that Steve Smith had, he was only held to 70 yards, 4 receptions, so I was really pleased the way our secondary played. And it was just very exciting, and I had to pimp Antoine today because of that sweet play that he made. So I was just so happy to see the play. It was amazing. You know, it brought the momentum to our side, something we needed.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a much-needed win for the Vikings, and this show is much needed for you fantasy football players out there. We're going to get into the fantasy aspects throughout the rest of the show, but those of you loyalists who watch this show regularly, you know our favorite team is the Minnesota Vikings, and we would absolutely be remiss if we did not devote this first segment to our favorite squad who got a much-needed win, fueled by that play at the beginning of the game by Antoine Winfield. Jeff, we're going to show a clip of Antoine Winfield a little bit later after the segment when you had a chance to interview him down in Mankato. But really that play, in one play he gets a sack, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown. Right. It really changed the momentum. We were down 10-0, and from that point on, we went on a 20-point unanswered run.
Yeah, it was a really amazing thing. You know, I got a lot of respect for Leslie Frazier for having the stones to call the corner blitz right there.
Big time.
So many times you see in the NFL, a defense will dangle that play out there and get burned deep, especially when you have a playmaker like Steve Smith. So They had the gumption to do that, and it paid off for us big time. And then you could see with the way that the whole defense sprinted down into the end zone and lifted Antoine up.
Absolutely.
And Jared Allen was there, and it was him and E.J. Henderson who held Antoine up. And those guys really kind of brought the chemistry and the momentum to our side of the field. And we were able to take that positivity. And I'll tell you, Gus Frerotte, he was good, not great, just what we need, and we played Viking style of football. And when we play our game, I think scores are going to be like that, like 20-10.
Right.
So it was true Viking football, and it couldn't have gone any better.
When we talked to Leslie Frazier down in Mankato, he told me specifically, I asked him, Coach, what's this defense trying to do? And the first word out of his mouth was turnovers. Last week, it was a turnover that turned the tide against Carolina. Jeff touched on Gus Frerotte. Not a bad showing for Frerotte in his first game. He certainly wasn't blowing the doors out statistically. Did throw one touchdown pass to Visante Shanko. But Jeff, to me, I felt like the play calling was much more loose, was much better. I loved how the offense was aggressive coming out at the beginning of the game, throwing the ball down the field. Even though there wasn't a lot of success on those early throws, it certainly seemed to me like the offensive genius behind this whole thing, Brad Childress, was understanding unless he loosens up the defense a little bit, it's going to be hard to find running rooms. And in the second half, we started to see our running game see more openings than we had previously seen them have.
Yeah, and that's one thing we definitely need to see. You got to have both sides of it. It's not one-sided coin. You can't only run the ball and play defense, or you'd be like the Raiders. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to throw the ball some. That's why we brought Bernard Berrien in here. He has 6 catches on the season so far, and I'll tell you that's leading the team. He's tied with Shanko, 6 catches each.
That's not enough.
Marion Barber himself has 10 catches.
Right.
Our guys have less than the best 50 reception leaders in the NFL. So we really need to continue to work on getting the ball through the air. And you know, I was really pleased to see Shanko get the touchdown. I'm glad they didn't throw it to him in the end zone. They kind of made him earn it.
Right.
But I'll tell you that if I were the coaching staff, I'd be telling him that he has to catch 100 balls a day with his hands.
Yeah, he really needs to. I mean, he's struggled right now. You can make an argument that if he catches that touchdown pass from T-Jack in Game 2, that right now Frerotte probably isn't the starter for this team.
Sure.
So Visante Shanko definitely has some blood on his hands, and that blood is Tavares Jackson's blood. But, you know, it was nice to see T-Jack on the sideline interacting with the teammates. After Winfield made that play, he came over and slammed him on the shoulder pads and really congratulated. I'm not sure that we've seen the last of Tavares Jackson here. It may be hard for Gus Frerotte to stay healthy throughout the entire season, so it was good for me to see Tavares Jackson engaged on the sideline, excited about a win, and a must-needed win. We really put on the tourniquet here, got after the quarterback in the second half, Jared Allen making some plays. This looked like the Vikings team we thought we'd see in week 1.
Yes, and you know, it's not that big of a surprise that it would take them a few weeks to gel, so to speak. There's several new players on the team, a couple different changes. We've had Bryant McKinney, who's been out, so Artis Hicks is locking down that left side. He's giving his best effort, but it's still a problem, concern area. And then, you know, with the way that we were throwing the ball more cavalierly than in the first 2 weeks, you get the sense that the coaching staff feels more confident in what Gus Frerotte brings to the team, so they feel like they can go deep more. And finally, Bernard Berrien started to get into the act. He had a nice long reception, something that we need out of it. It was a nice over-the-shoulder catch.
Nice pass, too.
And it was a really good pass right on the money. So I really feel like we're a more complete team right now. We don't have to hold the reins back with our quarterback. But like you're saying, I am concerned because at whatever 38 or 39 years old, Gus Frerotte, he might not be able to hang tough through the full 16-game season.
One thing I was really encouraged by here in this game, Jeffrey, was we got Chester Taylor, number 29, involved. He had a specific spot in the game plan. Chester is far too talented to just stand on the sideline and maybe sub for Adrian 3 or 4 times a game. I think that type of wear and tear on Adrian over the course of a 16-game schedule is a bad thing for him. Let's realize this guy runs very physically, Adrian Peterson, and getting Chester in there, getting him a lather. He had a touchdown called back on a holding penalty on a screenplay, a nice screenplay. Chester adds a dynamic to this offense that cannot be discredited. I like to see them both on the field last week. I personally hope we see more of that.
I agree with you, Jesse, and that kind of speaks to the mentality of getting your best weapons on the field.
Absolutely.
You know, and Chester, like you're saying, he's way too talented to leave on the sideline. We got to get him out there. We got to let him use his speed off the edge. We can, and what I like about him a lot is him and Adrian have a similar rushing style where they mix that speed and shiftiness with a good amount of power.
Absolutely.
And when you see Chester, he's got thick thighs, you know, a little bit like Maurice Jones-Drew in Jacksonville. And so if we were to get him out there and give him more opportunities, maybe see those guys in the backfield together, that would cause defensive coordinators fits, especially if we mix them into the passing game as well.
So you're talking about causing defensive coordinators fits. Well, we're going this week down to Tennessee. The Vikings taking on the Titans in a very big matchup here, a clash between two excellent defensive teams. Jeff Fisher, in my opinion, one of the most underrated coaches in the entire NFL. Jeff, this game to me has all of the makings of a defensive struggle. I mean, only the Steelers and Ravens have been better in yards allowed than the Tennessee Titans have been, and nobody is allowing fewer points per game than the Titans, a stingy 9.7 points per game. So here our offense is going to have some hard yardage against a very tough Tennessee squad.
Well, and also if you look at these two teams, they really seem like the exact equal of each other in the other conference. You know, I mean, the Titans they have a rushing quarterback who hasn't really performed well, so they're on their old guy at quarterback. They've got a good running game, and they stop the run very well and play tough defense. Neither team has a stellar receiving core, so these two teams match up very uniquely in this week's game. And I really think that if we play Viking-style football, it's going to be a grinded-out, low-scoring type of game, and that we can come away with the victory, and it'll look something like last week against the Panthers, where there's a big defensive play, possibly a play in the special teams, and then some good rushing, and hopefully we can win 13-10, 16-10, something like that.
Now, to me, a key in this game is going to be stopping the Titans' running attack or slowing it down. Lindale White has been very tough inside the tackles, getting some touchdowns. He scored in successive weeks here, but I think he's going to be easier for our defense to stop because our defense is so big along that front line. They're going to be more susceptible to a speedy back like the rookie Chris Johnson, who's been really impressive so far.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you that if I were looking at this defense, I would try my best to try to match up Chad Greenway and have him follow Chris Johnson around the field as much as possible, because Greenway is our fastest linebacker and one of the fastest linebackers in the league, and he's really come out and performed well here in the last couple seasons. So Chris Johnson, he uses the speed around the edge, good hands, and we got to be able to match that speed somehow. And I think that Greenway could be the man for the job this week, and that potentially could neutralize what Chris Johnson is going to try to do with his speed.
I think turnovers are going to play a major factor here in this game, Jeff. Like you're saying, this could be one big play one way or the other. Another thing that Vikings fans need to be aware of here, Tennessee leads the league in interceptions so far this season with 7 INTs through 3 games. So Gus Frerotte was flinging that ball all over the field last week. He might have to be just a little bit more careful here in this contest, Jeff, because the winning team might only score 13 or 16 points.
Well, to me, it really seems like the team that wins this game is the team that definitely wins the battle in the trenches and that runs the ball more effectively. Last week, Tennessee watched Steve Slayton put up 100-plus yards and a touchdown on them on the ground, and we know that our rushing attack is lights out compared to what Houston has on the ground. So I really feel like that the rushing game for our team is going to get going. I love Adrian Peterson in this matchup because in order to win, we need to hit them hard with the rushing game. So go ahead and start Adrian Peterson. He's going to do very well for you in this game, and I think that they know that that's what they need to win. So we got to get that rushing game going. So far, our rushers account for 1 touchdown on the season, and for a team like the Vikings that make their bread and butter on the ground, you really need to get in the end zone more than that. We saw the touchdown call back from Chester last week. But Adrian, with only 1 touchdown so far, we need to see him in the end zone more.
Yeah, we absolutely do. I think it's going to be a little easier for him on the outside sweeps this week using that speed than in the middle. Let's not forget Albert Hainsworth is a beast in the middle of that defensive line.
He's not right now. He's been battling an injury. He hasn't been producing at the regular level, and I really feel like that's one reason why Slayton found room last week. I'm not quite sure what the severity of this is, but I'm hoping that he's limited in this matchup because, like you're saying, he's a great, talented player. And without him, as long as he's not stomping on people's helmets, you know, he can make a lot of other damage inside a game, inside the rules. So we really need to get the rushing game going.
Absolutely.
And if we want to win, that's what they'll do. Make sure to tune in next week because our good friend Eric Nelson will join us on the Purple segment, and he's going to be at that game. So we'll get a chance to get his take on how that went.
Very good. Well, it's exciting here. We're glad to be with you. Sit back, kick back, relax, kick up your footrest on your lazy boy, get your favorite beverage. Testosterone is in the house for the next 40-45 minutes or so. We're going to be breaking down all of the matchups to help you dominate in your fantasy football league. Jeff and Jesse, and we'll be back right after this.
Yeah. Okay, so Jeff from Testosterone talking with one of our favorite players, Antoine Winfield. Antoine, you had a few days in pads now. How you feeling so far?
I feel pretty good. You know, I think we're just completing our first week of training camp. It's getting a little warmer day by day, but we're working each day to get better.
Yeah, well, I can tell you guys are working hard out there for Coach Leslie Frazier. Right now, we've got a couple of new additions to the defense. Could we first just talk about real quickly Madu Williams and what's he going to bring to the unit?
This, I think, is Madee's 6th year in the league, so he's a veteran. He's played the safety position, started a lot of games for Cincinnati the last couple of years. A lot of veteran leadership. He has great ball skills, great speed, so he's able to get sideline to sideline.
Yep. Last season we got passed on a lot, and so during the offseason here we brought in Big Jared Allen to play defensive end. How do you think that's going to affect you guys as a secondary unit?
Oh, that's a beautiful thing for us. Anytime you get a DN coming off the edge, getting after the quarterback, doesn't give him that much time to go through a second and third read. So looking for big numbers out of him this year.
Excellent, excellent. So I see you're carrying your pads, man. You got to go find Terrell to carry your pads for you, man.
Actually, I think they're out there still at work. You see them over in the corner right there. So
yeah, that's right.
Got to get out here and get my lift in.
Awesome, awesome. All right, well, thanks a lot for coming out, man. Appreciate it. Good luck to you, dude.
Very pleased to be joined right now by the man of the hour, the defensive coordinator, Leslie Frazier. Thanks for taking a minute to talk with us. Coach, you've got to be just ecstatic about the defense and how they're looking, and the bar is set kind of high, but they're going to deliver, right?
Yeah, I'm excited about the guys that we have. I mean, having Jared Allen, a great addition to our defense, along with Madu Williams, guys that'll really help us. Ellis Williams also. So we're excited. we're excited.
Yeah, it's great. On the defensive side of the ball, the Vikings definitely bring the prowess, bring a lot of power. Tell us a little bit about the cover 2 scheme and what you guys are going to be trying to accomplish in that scheme this season.
Turnovers. We want that to be our mantra, you know. Last year we led the league in turnovers with interceptions and touchdown fumbles to, have 8 touchdowns during the season. So we want to surpass that. We like to be able to get some turnovers and help our football team win, and that's the goal in that cover 2 scheme. Get some pressure on the quarterback and get the football turned over.
Of course, we've got major respect and appreciation for the Williams wall inside, both Pat and Kevin. Talk a little bit about those guys and how those guys are gelling with Jared Allen.
Well, Pat and Kevin are terrific. All our fans know that. They're Pro Bowl guys, and now you add another Pro Bowl in Jared Allen. It just it makes our front a formidable front, and we're counting on Ray Edwards to be another great piece to the puzzle, and we're expecting to have a good year out of our defensive line.
Yeah, and Ray back on the field today in practice. How's he feeling? How's he looking out there?
Well, it was his first day back, as you mentioned, and he looked like he was in better shape than you would expect, with the time off, and he's a guy that's well conditioned, and we're going to need him this year, and he did better than we expected him to do.
Well, tomorrow night you got a scrimmage against the Chiefs. I want to wish you a lot of luck this season and tomorrow night as well.
All right.
Coach Leslie Frazier.